Hello everybody, it is the amazing gaming guy here and welcome back to Main Street USA. This is my build of my version of Main Street USA from the Disneyland parks around the world in Planet Coaster. And today we are building the Disneyland Firehouse. Now, as with the other buildings in Main Street and all of the other buildings I've done for this build so far, this is not an exact replica, but it is very closely based off of examples from various Disney parks around the world. I think these buildings differ very slightly in the parks that feature them, which I believe is every Disney park apart from Disneyland in Shanghai, where instead of having Main Street, they actually have Mickey Avenue, which is a very sort of differently themed area. It's not so Americanized, and I think the whole of that park in general is very less American than the rest of the parks, and they've put a lot more of the sort of Chinese and sort of Oriental architectural features into the things, especially if you look at the castle. It's called the Enchanted Storybook Castle. It's beautiful. It's the biggest Disney castle in the world. I think it's nearly 200 foot tall. It is ginormous. It is incredible. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go find a picture or even videos of the Enchanted Storybook Castle in Disneyland Shanghai straight away, because it is utterly beautiful. So yeah, I've gone on a complete tangent there, but yeah, this isn't an exact replica of any of the particular fire stations in any of the Disney parks, but it's my version. So I've started by sort of making the general outline of the structure, and again, this outline is based upon, I think this one's based on the Magic Kingdom version. I don't know if that differs from the original Disneyland version in California. If somebody knows, please let me know. I only really looked at examples for the Magic Kingdom for the fire station. But yeah, I've gone for that general shape. It's got the sort of big, tall, peaked roof, and then a very sort of tall tower to the left of it, to the right of it, and it's sort of a asymmetrical design. You know, it's got that tall tower on the side, and it's got a little bit coming out on the left, and it's got, you know, it's not symmetrical on all sides, which I really quite like for this building. And I've decided to do it a little bit different to some of the buildings I've done so far. So I'm not going to put as much detail onto the actual walls themselves or the areas like around the windows. And instead I'm going to use just the sort of texture of the brickwork and lights as well. I'm going to use lots of lights to try to put detail into this building as well. So at nighttime it'll be like really even more spectacular than it is in the day. That's the intention. This is really going to be a nighttime building, I think. You know, that was my idea all the way through. I wanted it to really sort of pop at nighttime. So it's going to have very carefully placed sort of spotlighting and stuff on it, and string lights up and around the structure of it, so along the roof and the sides of the walls and stuff. Really trying to really make it pop at nighttime. And you'll see at the end of the video I have some nighttime shots, and I think that I've made it work. Please let me know if you think the same, if you agree. But I had a load of fun making this one, actually. It's not quite as grand as the one that I built last week, the City Hall. It's not nearly as big and not nearly as grand, which was quite a sigh of relief for me, to be honest, because that took such a long time, last week's build. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know that I sort of did a talk for about 15 minutes in that video, and then I sort of dropped off and didn't talk for any more because it was like a half-hour long video and I just couldn't speed it up any more than I already did. So I hope that you did enjoy that, and that you managed to get through it all. somebody left a comment talking about how they actually felt like they should sort of skip through that video rather than watching it all because, you know, the music wasn't quite to their taste and that sort of thing. And, you know, that's totally fine. I don't mind at all. I just want to say that these are quite long videos, and you want to, you know, have a little skip through, get to something you're more interested with. You know, that's what people do on YouTube, isn't it? I would do that, especially if it's quite a long video, especially like last video. You know, half hour long, mostly just music. I would want to just, you know, maybe watch a couple of minutes and then skip, I don't know, 5 minutes later and watch a couple of minutes more just to, you know, see the build progress faster. And I would love to have actually cut it like that, but it's, I felt like it would have been sort of tricky to follow if I had done that. So I'll leave that up to you guys. You know, you watch it how you want. I don't mind. So yeah, back to the build in hand. I'm building the tower to go up the side of the fire station. It's got. I'm using these pieces that kind of look like vents. This is actually from the sci-fi theme, and I also used it over on the city hall. I just think they really work as like sort of like a wooden sort of slating, sort of a slatting, you know, slats of wood. And looking at the reference images from the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland, a lot of the buildings actually have these sort of slatting, and that one piece works really well for it. I wish there was a larger variety of pieces with that sort of slatting design, but I'm so glad that I've actually found one, and I've been trying to find inventive ways of mixing it together with other assets and stuff to make it look like it's larger than it is, and that's what I've used going up this tower, and I'm also going to end up copying that round to the other side of the tower as well, but not the back side. It's not going to be on all three sides because remember these are facades. They're not full functioning buildings. Because again, if you look at Disney, the Main Street buildings are not fully rendered all around. You know, you can't, but if you were to go to the back of them, you would just see like a sort of a warehouse sort of thing. You know, it's not themed where you can't see it, and that's obviously, you know, to save time, to save money. It obviously costs a lot of money to get these people with all of these brilliant skills and crafts to get it into the park and make these. The beautiful sort of ornate details that they have on these Main Street buildings. I can't imagine how expensive it must have been to make these. So yeah, they obviously can't construct the whole building in that way, and why would you if nobody's going to see it, you know? There's not really much point to it. But I've chosen as well to follow that idea. Yeah, so that's that's what I was talking about. I lost my train of thought for a moment there. But yeah, I've chosen to follow that. So the backs of these buildings, they're not as detailed at the front as well, and they're going to look more functional. And the buildings that you can see elsewhere around Main Street, where I haven't put a back on at all, I am going to go through and put a back on all of them. In the real Disney parks, they will all actually kind of be linked. Some of those buildings, they'll all be sort of one large building, and the facades will just make it look like separate buildings. So that's kind of what I'm going to try and do as well. I'll have a big sort of warehouse building along the back of them, and then from the front it will look like they're all separate buildings, which I think would be really cool. And I adore like putting in that sort of real life, realistic detail, you know, seeing the sort of inner workings of things, the functionality and stuff. I love it. And that's why I love this game so much as well, because, you know, you look at the coasters and stuff, you see all of the sort of the bolts, the details, the sort of the chains and the cogs and wheels and stuff that make these coasters work. I think that's absolutely wonderful. And as much as I can, I'd like to put in that sort of inner working backstage detail into the park as well, into the scenery. Yeah, I just love that sort of thing. And you'll notice that on the sort of backside of these buildings and stuff, I've put kind of access routes and sort of metal balconies and things and aircon units and stuff, and I'm going to be putting a load more of that in when I actually go around and sort of finish off these buildings. As of yet, the City Hall and the fire station are the only buildings that are kinda finished, and I actually sort of put some trees and stuff around them at the end of the video, or maybe after I've stopped recording. At some point I put some trees and stuff around the back, and those are really the first sort of finishing touches that I've put into Main Street, and it was so satisfying to do. I can tell you that. So yeah, you can see that I'm also going to be trying to get the train to pass through this building. I know that in the real Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom and stuff, the train never passes through the fire station. I know that that's not a thing. None of the trams, none of the parades or anything pass through the fire station. People can go into the fire station, I think, and there's some stuff in there. Again, I don't know firsthand because it's been an awful long time since I went, and I've only been to Paris, and I don't remember it at all. So, you know, most of the time I don't even say that I've been, because I may as well not have, because I don't remember it. But yeah, I've chosen to have my train line actually pass through the fire station because I wanted to get the fire station in there, and the train was coming from that direction, but because of the scale that I'm building this in, it's not to the same scale as it would be in real life. It's much, much smaller. There just wasn't a gap for the train line to pass through, sort of between these buildings or anything, so I thought, may as well have it go straight through the middle of the fire station. Does it make sense having a train come through the fire station? Not really, but I enjoyed doing it, and I think it looks really cool. And I put a sort of triggerable opening door on the front as well, and unfortunately you can't control how long those doors stay open for, or at least I've not found out how to. If you do know a way, please let me know, because I'd really like to fix it so that the door doesn't close on the train whilst it's passing through, because it's really quite annoying that, but I'm going to keep it in there anyway because it looks really cool when it opens up and the train goes through it. It is a shame that it closes onto the train, but I think I'm just going to deal with that for the sake of how cool it looks when it does open. So yeah, I'm just going in and I'm putting in some more sort of finishing details here, putting in some raised brickwork. I'm really sort of playing with heights and depths here. Even though these pieces are very similar, it's all just sort of brickwork. I'm trying to sort of raise those bits out and make it look at other bits like a deeper and stuff, just to really give some variation to the frontage of this building. And again, to make it different to the other buildings in Main Street as well, because I've really not worked with brick much in Main Street. I think there's maybe one other building that's got any sort of brickwork in it. So I was really very keen to do a full brick building, you know? I've done lots of cladding and stuff, and lots of sort of mortar and that sort of thing, and really nice to use some brick. I think it makes the building really stand out as sort of a very different building in Main Street, and I think it looks lovely. And I hope you guys agree, because it took quite a long time to make. Again, it did not take as long as City Hall. That was horribly long, but it took a little while anyway. Onto my favourite bit as well, putting in the lights. You guys know that this is my favourite part of any build. You know, really trying to finish it off and sell the building. And as I was saying earlier, I'm really trying to use the lights to make this building kind of pop out and have extra detail at night time. And I'm doing that especially using these string lights, just a normal white constant string light, no flashing or anything, but putting it on all of the sort of architectural details like the peaks and the roofs, and around the tower, and just sort of around the surround of the building. So yeah guys, that is just about all we have time for today. I hope that you've liked this building, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye!